be taking a critical look at the impact of the current economic realities on the food business. Now, this is one sector that has gone through a series of challenges, from rising costs to supply chain disruptions, changing consumer behavior, and all of these things have impacted the food business. Our guest here is Oluwabukola Robert Omotunde. She is the CEO of BK Cooks Deli and the Indulge Place, and she'll be sharing experiences. I'm sure she has first-hand experience of this that we're talking about today. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So now we're talking about the impact of the current economic situation. Now, the rising cost of food items is one that everyone is feeling the bite, both for those in the food industry, the food business industry, and even us that are not in the industry. But so let's look at it from the lens of someone who is an entrepreneur in the food business. How has it been?
To be candid, it's been quite tough and challenging, especially in this season where we have, food prices are constantly on the rise. You can't buy something today and expect to go to market tomorrow or the next day and
meet it at the same price.
So it's the inflationary pressure, the food prices, they just keep rising and rising, and so it's been a tough challenge on food businesses.
Has it affected now pricing? How do you balance pricing and then still ensure that you're making profit?
So what we've done over time is to actually bear the cost as well as entrepreneurs. As a business, you can't just push the whole cost to the consumers. So we've been able to spread cost over time. For example, it could be 70-30 between the clients and, the business person. So that's what we've been able to do over time, to spread the cost across and to be able to maintain a good profit margin over time. So that's what we've been able to do.
Okay, this is the surprising part, and of course I always come from a different perspective. And the first is, let me just put it out there, FCCPC says, look, the reason why we have food inflation, by the way, it's hovering between 38 to 40%, talking about food inflation now. But FCCPC, that's the Federal Consumer Protection Commission, competition protection, talks about the fact that hoarders have actually influenced why we have food inflation. But just scratch that for a second. The main question for you is, you said the margin is difficult, the price fluctuates, oscillates up and down at will. At one time you hear basket of tomatoes is 100, and the next moment they said it has crashed to like 30. Then you have pepper, the same thing, or other ingredients that you use. But so many people, if they want to start any business now, they start with food business. So my question is, why do people still go into food business when they know that food inflation is high? Of course, consumers will always bear the cost, because beans now, a scoop now. Do you still buy scoop from
some don't even
from Alausa? No. Yeah, so a scoop now is about
it's
500.
It's better to bring your food from the house now.
Yeah. So why do people still go into food business? What is interesting about food business?
Okay, so because food is on high demand daily, every day, people must eat. And you said something about the price of tomato crashing, but there are other things that have gone higher over time. And so there are opportunities in the food industry sector, like rice, oil. As at this week now, rice, went up between 70 to 75 to 76, the same thing with oil. And so aside from some of these costs being high, some are not even readily available. And so having a good key supply chain would actually help anybody who is going into the food industry, because you can rely on your credible supply chain, knowing that they will not hoard these goods. You've built good relationship with them over time. They would always give you supplies. And so food is in high demand, so the opportunities are enormous.
So that's why people go there.
I want you to talk about the opportunities now.
Okay.
You said the opportunities are enormous. I want you to break it down.
Okay. You can start a food business even from your house. That is how I started my own business, for example. I started cooking from my kitchen before we recently just opened our facility. And so with the social media out there, you can do a lot from there. Delivering food to people. A lot of people are on the system, working from home or working in the office. The next thing they're thinking about is how to eat, for example, the next thing on their mind. And so being able to put what you do out there would actually help you and create a lot of, client base. That is what has actually helped me thus far.
So I felt that when you have inflationary pressure like we have with food inflation, it should discourage people from going to the food business. But what you're saying is perhaps if you understand the metrics of food, you can still go into it. So you still encourage people to go into it? To the business?
Of course.
So perhaps just take us through perhaps the value chain, how to maximize the food opportunities in the food industry. You've mentioned one, which is having a regular supply chain, a supplier that gives you, but we have that's if for the wholesale, right?
Yeah.
But you have people that do just labelli, something of that nature. So how do you deal with dealing with producing or being a food vendor on a daily? How do you perhaps take us through the steps? Not necessarily what made you successful in it, but perhaps just give us through in case someone is watching now. I really want to get into the food business.
Okay, so what I would say first of all is to be familiar with the environment, the business environment of food in itself. If you are starting, sometimes when I go on the road and I see people who sell food in kiosks or they are hawking, one of the things that run through my mind is how are they actually maximizing profit? And so one of the things you can do when you want to start small, you can build connection within your area, within your community, without necessarily going into the big distributor, because you are not going to be buying so much, and so you won't be getting enough discount. For example, you're starting a food business. You won't start with 20 bags of rice. You can start with cooking half paint. You can start with cooking half, starting from somewhere where you can buy from, Yari say, give me one derika day, where you can start from there and buy around you before actually stepping into the larger space where you can now have connects, you can have a network of good supply chains where you can, build trust with over time. So just starting small is actually very important. Instead of going over to, far places where you would get things from direct distributor, you can buy in your area, you can buy on the streets. However, buying there might not necessarily give you the profit margin from somebody that is buying in bulk. Do you understand? So it's majorly just starting small. Start from where you are.
I thought the first ingredient for that business is knowing that your food is sweet. Yeah, like knowing that when I cook for you, I think that's the major. Okay, so in all these things you said like this, knowing how to cook well, it does not come into place. It's just to satisfy that.
Because if your food is not sweet,
nobody will buy
How
it.
many food have you bought now that is not sweet? There are so many now, so it's not a necessary prerequisite for
No,
starting
that is very necessary. The skill is very important.
There is a skill.
There is a skill to it.
So what kind of skill is that?
Okay.
Culinary school?
Of course, you can start from there. You can even start learning on your own. Because I did food and nutrition for some time in school, before I went into the university. So it has always been a thing for me. You understand? So it's been a passion. And then learning the skill, improving on it over time. Asking your client or even people around you, I've made this jollof rice. That is how I say, can you taste it? How does it taste? Somebody comes to visit you, you're making it.
Just to have food to taste. It's a serious matter.
And they say I'm the one that likes food.
You are into the food business. Please continue.
Okay, we can send you samples.
Thank you very much. Thank you. In this deep, sorry. So, but the fact is, food is one of the essentials of life. We're talking about food, shelter, and of course clothing.
Yeah.
Talking about food again, you have a situation where people have actually they are now rationing food. You do 101 or 100. It depends on 0001. It depends on that. So, what do you think? How best, having been in the sector for a while, how best do you think we can make sure that food is available? I know you are not into the cultivation part of it, but from what you've experienced, where do you think government can maximize to make sure that food is available to people?
Thank you so much for that question. You see, one of the things that we've thought about as a team, as a business person, is to look at backward integration. In my area some time ago, I saw somebody on the streets who just used the small land in front of his house to plant spring onions, lettuce, you know, carrot, cucumber, even yam. And I was amazed, and I called him. I'm like, how were you able to do this? And one of the things government can do for us is to make, you know, to help our farms and all our farmers, giving lands at subsidized rates. You know, sometimes I look at it that all this land, you know, between Lagos Ibadan Expressway, you know, where people can actually, you know, cultivate and you make agricultural produce available. That way, hunger will be minimized. Imagine just having a farm at the back of your house. You can get tomatoes, you can get fresh. I mean, my mom had, you know, a small farm at the back of her house where she would plant sugarcane, you know, banana and all those things. And it's amazing that even in Lagos now, they have, you know, free lands where people have not necessarily built houses because we have a lot of infrastructure going on now. So the lands that are actually available, they are being given to farmers, either from the north or from the south. You know, they are being given to farmers to actually cultivate, you know, some of these things. And in terms of, so that, what I mentioned then was backward integration. And
yeah.
Every business now needs to begin to look at it if we are actually going to successfully and, you know, maximize profits very well.
They've said we all should go into subsistence farming,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
But again, so I want you, I know you just mentioned it a bit, but I need you to talk about how much of a game changer is digital marketing playing in the food industry. We have platforms where people now order food. You don't necessarily have to have a place where people come in to buy. You can stay in your home and they order, you make, and then. So how much has this transformed the food business? Then how do you deal with issues of, I've heard stories of dispatch riders eating up meals. You know, and you see what I ordered versus what I got. So how do you deal with all of that?
So one thing I'm very thankful for is the use of technology in business. It's been amazing. There are different platforms now where we have 500, even up to 1 million subscribers on food delivery platforms where people can actually order food. And it's been amazing. Since we got on some of this platform, it's been very beautiful. You get order on day-to-day basis, and because of the high demand for food, those platforms are very, very, very essential, and you know, they've been helping businesses to thrive in recent times. Then your second question was
how
the dispatch.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things we've been able to do is that once you have some of these mobile platforms that are registered, they are actually very, very credible to an extent, because some of the dispatch riders, they know that until a client is satisfied and is marked on the app that the goods, you know, were gotten in good condition, the person will not get paid, because some of them are actually being paid on day-to-day basis. So I think, and you can actually report any rider on some of those platforms. If you have complaints, you can send mail, you can have calls, you know, with some of their founders, and then they are able to work on it. But so far so good. I've never had that experience before. Not at all.
I think to like your story, but I'm sure there's a particular time in this your journey and your business rather, where you've said, I think I need to go and do other things. I like to know, because I know it's not all that rosy when it comes to business. At what point did you think, like, look, I don't think I'm cut out for this business again. Let me find other things. Maybe selling clothes or something. So what was that moment, and how did you get back to what you love doing, business? So what point made you do that?
Thank you so much for that question. It's so very real and practical to me, because I was there at some point this year. You know, we had just recently expanded, and I was faced with the challenge of people. It's not just enough that you can do something on your own. At the point where we scaled, it became overwhelming for me, and I wasn't able to really find my family. Like, do I really want to do this? And because it was a business founded alone, it was a bit challenging until God began to send me people. And so I needed more people to hold my hand, encourage me at that point, and step in. At some point, I had a friend who said, you know what, on so days I work from home, I'll come join you, I'll come support you, I'll come assist you. She's here with me in the studio, and I really, really appreciate her.
So that brings me to the question of capacity, because I was online just last week. I saw a woman who sells kids' clothes talking about a girl who was a manager, who has actually literally signed for almost 9 million from her business, and she didn't even know until when she got an order, and I said, we didn't do anything about this order, this isn't from us. just for her to discover that the manager was the one. The issue of capacity, if you know how to cook, I don't think you can cook 365 days of the year, or better still, you have to delegate at some point. So how do you deal with sourcing for capacity? Talking about people now, you have volunteers that help you, or your friends that will join in, or family and friends. Answer that as to how to dealing with people. How do you get the best of people to fit into your business? Then we'll talk about funding later.
Okay. So for me, when I was recruiting staff, you know, I had a series of interviews with them on phone, on call, and then invited them for physical interview to actually explain to them what the vision is, what are your own values, what are you. One of the things I say to them is we all have to take ownership if this business is going to thrive and, you know, survive. And so able to understand what their values are, loyalty and trust, monitoring the day-to-day activity, having proper book record keeping on every transaction that comes in and that flows out, and being able to hold them accountable for anything at all, regardless of how small, even if it's one bottle of water. When something is, you address the issue at that point, and then training people, because you said something about being able to cook. I can't do it 365 as much as I love to. I mean, most times I love being engaged in the cooking process because you have to ensure quality control as well. And so training them, helping them to understand that even when you're not there, they can understand that if this thing is not up to standard, we would not send it out. And is one thing I've been able to sell into the, you know, the subconscious of everybody and that we work with. And so training and, you know, grooming people over time actually really do help.
Since we talk about money, so how do you deal with difficult clients?
So it's been challenging, like dealing with difficult clients. We will always get them. We'll always get them. So one of the things I was able to do was to let my assistant come in between, you know, myself and the client sometimes. And when it comes to the fact that I have to face the clients myself, I call them, and, you know, no matter how much you try, there are people like that. They just want to find fault in what you've done. I mean, I encountered one recently with, you know, one of our corporate clients. Everybody said the food was good, but the HR person called and said, you know, it didn't taste like, you know, it didn't taste like some. I called other people and said, please, how was this? We said, no, it was good. We had a good experience, and that didn't stop them from calling me for, you know, for other job and subsequent. And so what takes me down there is that people will just always want to find fault, and being able to learn to actually deal with that. I didn't build up a self-defense mechanism at the point. I just wanted her to explain, please, can you tell me exactly? So I don't know, but there's something. There's just something. And I think it's because we are women.
Okay, so I know someone now watching us and want to get into the food business. You said, of course, if you are not into the large scale stuff, you can still start from your environment. So how do you source for funding? Money, can you just save and just keep an average? In an era where the value of money keeps fluctuating and inflation has literally messed up the whole savings you've got. So how much minimum do you think you can have? Or where do you, even when you think about that, where do you get the money from to start a food business?
Number one, personally, you have to believe in yourself, which means that, and you believe in what you do. You can sell your phone, sell your gadgets to start whatever you want. And then people who now believe in the business can now begin to support you and see, oh, you've been able to do this for 2 years, for 3 years. I mean, I started my food business in 2018. And so the consistency you are able to build over time would help other people around you who really want to support you. A lot of times I tell people I have never really done social media ads. Most of my clients are referrals. And so your consistency and maintaining standard in what you are doing. And one of the things I say is that the same energy I'll put in 1 plate of order is the same energy I need to put in 5. It's the same energy I need to put in 10. And constantly thinking of how to improve on, if you've had this food before, when you eat it next time, I want you to have a better experience. And so constantly working on improving and putting your own funds to play, that is your number one. And then trusting that, you know, people around you who buy into your vision, who believe in your idea, will definitely support you over time. I wouldn't necessarily say going to take a loan from a bank, because we know the interest rate right now. You know, it's quite on the high side. But you can, you know, you can have angel investors who will just come, and I've had clients who will just work for corporate clients clients who will come to my office and say, oh, we like what you're doing. We want to see your cooking area. How can we support you? Somebody walked into our place and said, oh, I want to invest in this business. And so I think by being consistent over time and actually giving your all to what you do, people around you will see it and definitely buy into that vision.
From what you have said, consistency is key. And then start small.
Yes.
You don't have to wait until you have it all.
Nah.
So I wanted to talk about, we now have food influencers and food bloggers. How much for their role in the food industry, do you think it's positive or negative?
It's two-way, depending. You know, we know that the cost of having influencers are high right now. If they're out there, I think they can help us. They can help businesses to do something about it, really. But their roles are also very important. One influencer can just come talk about something, and the next thing, you have the traffic on your on your page, on your timeline. They are very, very valid. They are good ones. But on the negative side is the fact that, oh, you don't have the cost to afford, an influencer, and at the end of the day, that's demotivate you from doing what you have to do. You just have to keep doing what you have to do. When you keep at it, influencers will come. I've had influencers who have called me and say, oh, we want to come. And so really, they have their own role. They are good. If you can afford them, why not? By all means, go ahead. But in the meantime, if you can't, you can just start, like I said, from where you are.
Talking about the current economic realities, how do you feel knowing that people don't have the purchasing power to actually buy food? People are buying this. Oh, that's Yoruba. I mean, for some of us now, it's difficult for you to just expend 7,000 on a plate.
You don't look like it, Joshua.
Yeah, like expend 7,000. I'm not talking for me. I'm talking like okay. 7,000 on a plate. How do you feel knowing that people that used to order, like maybe if it is a corporate client, they will do like 4 or 5 events in a year. They're cutting it down to 2 or 3. And for those who will ordinarily patronize you for their breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they'll say, just give me lunch. Lunch is okay. How does that affect your bottom line? How do you feel about that? Because that's the current economic reality.
Reality, yes. It has actually slowed down sales, with migration, relocation, and the high cost of food, high cost of living. Like you said, people would normally say, oh, we even have clients who will say, the next 2 weeks meal, lunch, breakfast, we just want you to supply. And then you see such clients not coming again because, they're trying to manage their own cost as well. It's the reality we are all facing right now. And so, like you said, some people now prefer to do 001. Or some just say, oh, health and well-being is very important. I'm okay with intermittent fasting. I can fast. It's not a problem. Do you understand? So I think it's one of the things we are facing, and, it has actually made sales to drop. But we thank God for, some of the clients that we still have that is helping us and pushing us.
So where do you get money from? If sales has dropped and people don't buy that much, they feel like, madam, you reduce the portion. Is that what you do now?
Yeah, because some people have reduced their portions.
Yes,
you hear for those that sell in the buka, 1 scoop is now 300 or 500.
Yeah.
Compared to the
then if you're buying plates, you can buy the bigger plates. From bigger plates, we now have the smaller sizes. Instead of buying a full portion, you can say, oh, don't worry, give me half portion here. And so
does government policy affect your business in terms of the styrofoams, for instance? Just say we don't want styrofoam foam because of the environment, which is a laudable policy, but does that affect how you
Of course, government policies affect businesses, I think, across the globe. I think there was a recent development about a waiver for import duties, a 150-day, you would think that it should bring a positive, yes, that you can see that it's visible, a positive impact on it, but rather it's not so tangible from what we are seeing. Rather, it's just increasing, and so government policies certainly do affect businesses all over. And so there was something you said again about how are you now able to meet you? It's events. Most businesses, you have to pitch for the events, because when the orders are more, you have bulk orders. That is really where the juicy aspect of it is. When it's not just lunch, it's not just breakfast that you're selling. Oh, those ones are good, they come by the side. But what you should actually look into, because as we are saying, the economic realities, people are doing parties.
I was about to say that.
Lagosians love
there's
to
no
party.
money, but every Saturday you see one Owambe there.
There is no one, but there is one event place that is open around you. So you now, as a business person, you now have to begin to pitch for into the food business and pitch for.
What do you tell them? You tell them that I'm going to give you this quality at a lower price, or you tell them that I don't know. What do you tell them?
Okay, so some clients will tell you, oh, you don't need to use the imported rice, use Nigerian rice. And we'll tell them, oh, the outcome are not usually the same, but you know, we have pretty good ones. They will say, oh, don't worry about, no, give me Nigerian chicken. If you use Nigerian chicken, some will say, oh, don't worry, I'll bring my chicken. Oh, somebody is giving me, and so it tends to reduce the prices and the cost that it will pay at the end of the day. But you know, those are some of the things we encounter on a daily basis.
Interesting.
So I wanted to still speak on some of the challenges that you have experienced as a woman in this industry.
Aside from the issue of staffing, also funding, like I said, no matter how much a business is growing, you still want to expand, right? You still want to grow. So we still need that funding aspect. We still need to keep pushing higher. And then the cost of transportation right now is really, really impacting businesses. Even from people who are bringing in goods from the north, even to Lagos, even from just close by markets to the house. It's very, 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 very high for us right now. And those are some of the things: transportation system, the high cost of transportation, high cost of living, and generally every other thing the economy is bringing to us right now.
Okay, food wastage is another aspect. How do you handle that?
Okay, so one thing I've been able to advise clients to do is that sometimes what we encounter at events actually sometimes get to me, especially when it comes to wastage. And so I don't know if some sort of class to, you are not really expecting up to this amount of people, but you really want to cook and let everybody be fine, let everybody be okay. Even sometimes when we recommend and we suggest to them that, oh, can we reduce, oh, you don't have to serve people with 2 proteins. When we have events, you serve people with 2 proteins. By the time they finish eating one, they are already tired from taking the next, and then the whole plate is, you know, a bit bulky.
What's protein? I mean, if you're the chicken, one tired after one chicken.
Sometimes they don't finish it. That's what I'm trying to
say.
Yeah, so they get tired, you know, at some point, because you have sides to eat with the rice. You have coleslaw, you have plantain, you have moi. These are the things that would, you know, actually make you feel fuller before you eventually get to the protein aspect. And so sometimes it could be class, it could be just what the individual wants, that, oh, of course, and some people, they will enjoy it. But at the end of the day, sometimes we have people not finishing their food at the end of the day, and then...
So what do you tell clients?
We suggest to them, and it is, you know, literally up to them to actually go with your option.
So how do you feel when you have like 300 guests? They say supply food for 300. Of course, you make allowances for extra 50 in case you overshoot.
No, not up to 50.
20?
No, not even.
So and you get there, and they
like
said
10,
you've done 10. Okay. I just finished one event recently. So, like, you just finished, like, the 10 extra, and the food is not enough. And the client comes to me to, how many food did you do? How do you manage the fact that some people actually have extra bag where they pour food? Like, you know, they are just following the advice of a particular man in the country. Anywhere you see free food, make sure you finish it.
And so it stems down to supervision. When we are at events, everybody's eyes are open to make sure that even though we cannot totally eradicate that, we are Nigerians, we know.
What's that supposed to mean?
We know our people. So sometimes it's like that. But, you know, we still always have to make room for extra, like you said. Oh, maybe keep some meat, keep some protein. When the host come and say, oh, we have something to bring. That's one thing I always like to do.
Does the cost, does it cover that?
To the cost? Sometimes they will have to pay for extra.
They will pay for extra?
Yes. Oh. If it is beyond what we have made provision for, like people print 300 invitation cards and they're cooking 500. For just, or 500, or they will just say, oh, cook for 200, cook for 100, and you know that you're going to have more people. And so one of the things, the transparency in being open to your food vendor and say, see, I'm expecting 300 clients. We can now make room for extra. So, but in the case of, oh, meat is not enough or food is not enough, we make room for extra to make sure that everybody is being served. And that aspect of people actually taking meat, that one is just...
So how do you now caution when you have like a buffet? Serve yourself. You not because I saw a video of, it was a buffet and the lady was trying to take so many things, and then the caterer was like, no, you can't take it, and it was a big fight. So how do you handle such now?
Okay, so when we are running a buffet, we just make plans that one person can eat twice, because majorly the idea and psychology of people when they know, oh, we are coming to a buffet event, is that, oh, they can eat as much as they want. But when you make room for starter, you make room for dessert, you make room for main meal, the main look of everything, they've taken starter to hold them. By the time they take the main meal, the person that is
some people agree with you.
They will take everything and still come back for more. It's just one of the things. Just prepare that one person will eat twice.
So what gives you joy when it comes to what you do? Is it the fact that you are increasing the weight of so many Nigerians, or is it that you love the fact that you cook and you can provide some kind of buffer for some people's tummy? Or better still, is it that it's like a business, you make money from it? It also helps you to take care of your own personal needs and family. What is it? What's the priority for you even in this business? That's my final question to you.
So beyond the profit is understanding my why. I told you before that, I'd gone through food and nutrition in school, and one of the things, contrary to what you see about feeding people fat, because I get that a lot. No, we are not feeding people fat. If you actually look into our food, one of the things I advise and that I do is to inculcate vegetables, grains. Okay, if you have your rice, you can enjoy your rice, but have it with something, your vegetable, your cabbage, your carrot, your lettuce, your cucumber. And so we are able to do that. And beyond people eating for pleasure, the fact that you are nourishing their body and soul is actually what gives me joy, and that I love what I do.
This is a conversation of someone serving food. Oh, continue.
And the fact that I love what I do, sincerely, gives me joy. It gives me joy.
Okay.
So this will be my maybe second to the last question now. The issue of transparency for those in the food business. I know a particular brand that I use, seasoning cube. It used to be like 1.7, and the last time I went to the supermarket, they were saying it's 3,000 naira. So I'm like, so those who cook for large gatherings, you will now be drawn between using the seasoning, the normal ones, or the white ones. I don't want to mention the brand name. You know that one, the rum belly. So, and some people might, carry. So, how important is it for food vendors to be transparent, especially when it comes to their ingredients in making the food?
Okay, so the process of making the food is actually very important. Beyond the seasoning, the process is one of the things, that would either give you a positive feedback or a negative feedback. And so you can switch brands. When it comes to Maggi, when it comes to seasoning cube, you can, for you cooking large, you might not need to necessarily buy a lot. You can just buy one brand today, try it, see how it works for you. But most of us, because we are professionals, sometimes it is the brand psychology. They've sold it to us. And so you feel... Exactly. So you're buying the name and you feel, oh, if you don't use this particular, it might not come out the way you want. And, so really try other brands and then watch the process of the cooking. It's very important. Hygiene, practice washing of hands in between cooking meals. And, that would really help as well.
All right. For those aspiring to, join this venture, I know you've mentioned something about that, but again, based on what has kept you going in the business since you started in 2018, just in 2 minutes, what do you have to say to them?
Keep your focus, identify your goals, and don't stop growing, don't stop learning, and continue to invest in yourself.
Don't stop growing, don't stop learning, continue to invest in yourself. And from what I've taken from what she has said, you can start small. You don't need to get a shop before you start. For sure.
That's about it. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today. Of course, we'll take a short break. The conversation continues after this. Hopefully, we'll see you again next time. We're expecting the food share. Okay, moving on. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
I entered the bus from my bus stop. Getting to I told the conductor that, okay, guy, wait. I was trying to remind him that my change. The guy was doing as if he doesn't hear what